Today, I'm going to quickly explain to you the simplest way to learn any mechanic in this game. First thing before we get started, since I'm new here to the scene, I should let you know that I am a Rocket League coach. I have been for roughly 2 years now, and I am also SSL, so hopefully you can trust what I have to say. It's also worth noting I am pretty new to this whole recording thing, so be at least somewhat forgiving on maybe some awkwardness here and there. I also don't like hearing my own voice, so recording this is just weird as it is. So anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and go to the rest of the video. Now, for improving mechanics, it's not really all that complex. I mean, there's more to it than, going into your nearest pro's Twitch chat and asking, hey, how do I improve my mechanics? And then they respond with, just free play. Not that free play doesn't have its place, but it's more of a vehicle for improvement and not the actual brains behind the operation, if that makes sense. Speaking of which, your big themes here are going to be repetition and, most importantly, good form. Kind of like learning an exercise, learning a mechanic the wrong way will hurt you. Only in Rocket League, it will be your rank and not your actual body. So for the rest of this video, everything I talk about will be broken down into 3 different steps. The first step is you need to set a goal. Like, what is it you want to be able to do? Now, it's important for this goal to be realistic, meaning you already have most of the mechanical foundation in place to begin working on it. For example, I'm not going to learn how to musty flick if I can't keep the ball on my car, and I'm not going to learn how to half flip if I'm not even comfortable doing air roll. So now that we have established that it is important your goal is within your reach, what's next? You have to learn what this mechanic looks like when it's successfully pulled off. Now, typically most players think they can do this, but it's actually a bit harder than it seems. To explain this, I'll demonstrate with an example of my own. So, let's say my goal is to learn to air dribble. The first thing I'm going to do is watch what a good air dribble looks like. For instance, you could watch a pro, an SSL player, someone that you know they're not going to be making mistakes when they're pulling off this sort of thing. So once you've done that, you're going to take notice of how they set it up, recognize all the nuance, and try to replicate it. Doing this on your own can be tricky, however, so some of you could benefit from a coach's explanation and guidance. Link to my coaching in the description, by the way. But if you're determined enough, you can definitely figure it out. Once you have a good understanding of how a mechanic is successfully executed, you can then begin the next phase, breaking down the mechanic. For instance, I'm going to divide my mechanic into steps that are easier for me to process and that I can practice individually to maximize repetition. Now, how you go about your actual practice and your mechanic is up to you, whether you do training packs, free play, workshops. It depends on your preference, but also the mechanic as well. So I'm not really going to go over the actual training portion in this video, so back to what I was saying. For an air dribble, I have broken it into 3 chronological steps, right? Setup, initial contact, and the actual air dribble. Obviously, there are a lot of hours and practice and understanding and all that stuff to be done during those steps, but that's the big picture. Though, do keep in mind other mechanics will obviously work differently, but the concept of these steps will remain the same. Now, I understand this can still be a bit confusing, so let's just throw in one more mechanic just for good measure, right? Let's say we're doing breezy flick, okay? So breezy flick, it's a unique tornado maneuver, and then you're going to be flipping upside down, and then you introduce a musty flick. So, for instance, what we're probably going to want to do at first is we're going to not even practice with the ball. We're going to practice doing that one spin on the ground, right? And then we're also going to make sure we know how to musty flick. And then eventually, once we have those 2 steps, we have those completely figured out, then we can then put them together. And now, finally, we're working on performing the complete mechanic. Now, I don't really recommend practicing a breezy flick. Like, sure, you can learn it. It's not really that useful. It looks cool, so, I mean, that's whatever. I don't really have a problem with learning flash and mechanics. But yeah, that's just an example. 99% of you shouldn't even touch it. Okay, to summarize. First, set a realistic goal. Then, go watch how your mechanic is pulled off successfully. Next, break it down into steps. Practice those steps until you have successfully mastered the mechanic. Congratulations, you just learned how to learn. Alright, now this video is pretty short, but hopefully it helped you get a better understanding of what you have to do to improve. I plan on making a lot more videos like this in the future, so make sure to stay subscribed. Other than that, that's all I got, so peace out.